helping you with real estate, Mr. Mike Johnston.
Welcome everyone. Today we're going through the building blocks of real estate. Number 9, we're going to talk about certified or continuing education and what's required for some of that, online versus live, how much to take and when. We'll also be talking about some finable offenses with the multiple listing service. So right now I'm sharing my screen with you, and right on here it talks about license renewals. So with that there, just not sure how this is sharing it for sure for recording purposes. So I want to make sure it's doing it right, but it doesn't seem to be doing that right. I think it is. Okay. So right here it talks about license renewals. The fees are non-refundable, so don't be thinking that if you pay your fee and you change your mind, you get the money back. No, it doesn't happen that way. The initial license period, each new licensee license shall be given for a period of 1 year, plus the months up to and including the next birth date of the licensee, not to exceed a period of 2 years. So my birthday's in November. So if I were to get my license today, the end of September, so from September to November would be my first year, and then from that November through November of 2021, the very last day of that month would be my second year. So for a brand new licensee, that would be my first license period. Now, if it's an existing agent that's been licensed before, then it's going to be up to the full 2 years. If they change their license from a sales agent to a broker's license, that changes it as well. But I'm not going to go through that because it can confuse people. So let's just stay on this other bit. So back to our screen, it shows the continuing education requirements. Here, well, back onto the license renewal. I think that was everything. License renewal, yep, that's it. So let's come here. Continuing education requirements. Each licensee shall successfully complete 2 commission core courses plus 12 classroom hours of continuing education credit. So how that reads is you have 2 different core classes that have to be different. You can't have duplicate credit, plus 12 elective classroom continuing education class hours. Now for the first license period, it says down here, for the first time after the expiration of the initial license period, a salesperson shall complete 2 commission core class courses plus the post-license course. So your first time you have classes that you're required to take. Now where do we find some of those classes? Well, I am going to show you. If we pull up here the Real Estate Commission's website, which I hope you can all see. Over here it talks about education and licensee lookup. So let's go to education lookup. So here on the Real Estate Commission's website, all school providers are required to post their education here at least 30 days prior to the first offering that they're going to be giving of that class. So here, what we can do is we can click course type. We want pre-license classes. That'd be for new agents. If we want post-license classes, that would be the education that they're required to take immediately after. If not, then there's elective classes. That would be for the agents that already have their license and need CE. Now keep in mind, many of these classes could be counted towards, like a post-license class, I could take it and it would still count as my continuing education. It's additional. Designation classes, all these other things, many of those I can take those classes to count for my CE. But remember, for the first license period, you must use the post-license classes. So I'm going to just click on here, that, and I want it to be live, just for this example. So here it shows all the post-licensing classes that are available. And a hint, if you have somebody that you're trying to help understand about getting post-license classes, the course ID says post in it. Hint, hint, post-licensing classes. So here's post 001. Everyone is required to take the post 001 class. It is 8 credit hours. Then they can choose amongst the other classes. There's 3 additional ones that they can choose from. Here's post-licensing 004, which is post-license introduction to commercial real estate. Or they could take post 002, which is post-licensing or post-license pricing, marketing, and advertising. They could also take Post 3, which is post-license, professionalism, negotiations, and closings. So if you look at that, those number 2, 3, and 4, they're 4-hour classes. The first class is 8. Magically add those two numbers together, you get the 12 that's required for your course renewal. Now I'm going to log in and just show you my particular continuing education so I can show you how you can look this up. So I'm going to just log in. And it shows my stuff. So I'll just go into my information. I can go down to my education. And it shows me what I've taken. Now, right up here at the top, it says my license expires November 30th of 2020. So I'd be looking for classes from December 1st of 2018 till now. So I come over here and I go to December 2018 till now, and I would start adding up my credits to see if I have enough. So here's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oops, I already have my 12 credits, but now I need to have 2 different core classes. I can go back this way and say, what core class did I take? There's the 2017 and 16. So I need to have the 18 and 19. So I come up here and I look, do I have the 18 and 19? Well, I've got the 20 and the 19 there, so I've got it. There's the 18. So I have the classes that I need, and I can add up everything that I've got. So I have, well, a whole lot more than what I need. It looks like I got tons and tons. So that's a good thing. But that's one way that you can check to see if you have the CE that you're needing. Now going back there, if somebody wants to just look for education that's available, they can come back over here to the education lookup part, and they can say what they want to search for. So course type, let's say that I want to look for designation, electives, even a pre-license class, all those type of things would be fine. So I want that, but I want to have it be live, and I want to have it be over in our part of the state. So I can come over here and I'll click Idaho Falls, Pocatello. It's a little farther away, but I can still do it. And right now, those are the only 2 that's letting me click on here. Sometimes if there's classes based on what I've already selected in other cities, it will permit me to do that. I can put down the date that I'm wanting. I need something by the end of the month. I need something by the end of October. So I'll put that down. And I do a search. Oh, beginning date must be specified. So I'll put in today. So I need something between now and then. And right now it just shows there aren't a whole lot of classes. There's pre-licensed classes in Idaho Falls and Pocatello, but there's a CRS course for 7.5 hours in Pocatello on October 20th. So I could look at that, and if I'm curious about it, I click on it. It tells me here who's putting it on, the Greater Pocatello Association of Realtors. There's their website. Here's the price and the start time. So it's going to be a day class for that 7.5 hours. So that's some way that you can simply see what's available is by clicking on that information. So right now, the key thing to keep in mind is that you need to have 12 credit hours plus 2 different core classes for every license period. And try to get that done ahead of time, and don't wait till the last minute. Sometimes you can find a class that's available and it might be free or for a reduced amount of money. So it's really easy to follow up on that. So right now, as soon as my classes are done, I'm going to start taking new classes. I like to keep up on the core classes, take the core class every year. So please do that. Now, online versus live. If you take a class like the core class online, you're going to have to take a test at the end of it. If you take it live or distance learning class, that's can be considered live, then you don't have to take a test at the end. And that's with all of the classes. So if you have a fear of taking tests, then you might want to sign up for a live class or a Zoom class. The Zoom ones are actually considered live, going back and forth the remote delivery. If you're taking one that's like the CE shop or McKissick or Honduras, those are some of the main ones. If you take something from one of those classes, you will have to take a test at the end of it or during it. Some people ask, where can you go to find those classes? Well, I just showed you at the Real Estate Commission site. You can go there, and instead of me clicking on live, you can click online, and it will show you the courses that are available there as well. Sometimes you can get discounts. You'll get emails that'll say, hey, use this particular code and you can get a discount for your CE classes. I try to keep up on that. So what I've tried to do, and it doesn't always happen, but what I've tried to do is I've tried to put that down here. And let me just click on this. So at professionalrealestateschool.com, if I find a code or something, I try to put it down on here. And sometimes when somebody else comes in, it's after the fact and it's passed. So right here, if you click on this one and do for the CE shop, here's up to 40% off. Here's Hondros. Right now I don't have anything for a discount there, but that way it's one way to remember. You can just go to professionalrealestateschool.com and click through that. And that's one option for you. But you can go to the Real Estate Commission's website and search for them one by one there if you wanted to. But take a look and see what classes you have interest in. It's always good to take classes that you like or have an interest in versus something that you're kind of forced to take. All right. So that would be the CE classes, how much to take and when, online versus live. Live classes are many times really neat to have because then you can have the people and communicate with them one-on-one, face-to-face, get referrals and that type of stuff. So that's really nice. The second portion of what we need to talk about would be staying in compliance with the multiple listing service, the fine violations. What are some of the most common violations that they have? So I'm going to pull up on here some of those different things and explain that to us a little bit easier. I just want to close out all these windows, which I think you just see me right now, which is great. Let's pull up our next one here. Okay, so taking a look at this particular screen. This is some of the questions that the Snake River Regional Multiple Listing Service gets asked a lot of times. So the most common violations. First off, accurate data. We want the information to be as accurate as possible. That's why they go through this information and ask for things. Enter a listing by the end of the next business day. Some people don't do that and don't turn it in quickly, but you're required to do that. Promotional information in public remarks, driving directions, or virtual tours. In the MLS, it's a place where we keep property information. It's not for marketing or promoting an agent, a team, or any third-party services. If it's a public field, you need to make sure that it's public. Everybody can see everything. So some of the things you cannot include in your remarks or in the listing would be the agent name or contact information or third-party promotions, like, oh, call Fred for your own private showing. No, we're sharing this information and it can go out to so many other people. You can't do that. You can't talk about commission details intended for agents only. That would be in the private remarks. You can't put in any URL, an internet website type thing, other than a virtual tour. Virtual tour must only describe the property for sale and its vicinity. D, you may list the name of the builder or brand names, for example, Anderson Windows, to the extent that they describe the property but don't add any promotional messages into it. Incentives from the seller are acceptable but must be specifically related to the property. For example, seller will pay up to $3,000 in closing costs, or seller will pay association fees for 1 year. Unacceptable, free plasma TV for your buyer, free trip to Mexico for the buyer, 500 gift card. So they don't really want that because that is an inducement. Keep the MLS free of promotions allows you to share property information that you pay to access with your customers or clients without encouraging them to contact other agents or to leave you for one of your competitors. That's the whole thing. The MLS is a database of information and we're sharing it to so many different websites that we're trying to make sure that it's a level playing field for everyone. Uploading a photo within 2 business days. If you don't upload one, you're going to be fined, but you need to put one in there. Think about it. If you don't have pictures for this property when you first put it out, it gets emailed to so many people. When I get something new and there's nothing to look at, I skip it. And then I wait for the next stuff. So your job is to make sure you have pictures on there. The more, the better, but get that information out there. So upload that. That's required on all residential class properties. Now there's some requirements on the pictures. You can't have the broker, agent, or builder sign or promotional materials allowed. So if someone takes a picture and has a yard sign in the front yard, that does not count. It will be tagged. Okay, so don't have the yard sign in the front. No text, regardless of the message, allowed on any photograph, so you can't superimpose stuff onto it. The MLS has done a superimposing thing at the very bottom right-hand corner saying Snake River MLS, because we've had many things happen going to Zillow, which it shows the information, but we've had some scams on some other websites where people say, oh, this is my property, here's great stuff, send me information and send me your rental deposit and you can rent this place. So because of some of the scams, we put these images on there so we could see where they're getting and pulling that information. So don't let the photo be digitally altered. Oh wait, let me go back to C. Do not copy photos from the listing of another subscriber. Use your own photos. If you're getting a new listing and somebody else had some great pictures, you can't just take somebody else's pictures and use them. They could be copyrighted or other things. So if you're going to use some previous pictures from the seller, make sure that they have the right or that they're the ones that took them. When in doubt, go without. Don't put it in there if you don't have that information. Now the photo may not be digitally altered so that it no longer actually reflects the property. What do we mean by that? I've seen some pictures that have been altered so much that it took out this ugly tree in the front yard. It took down the telephone pole that was there. So it makes it look like you have this great view when you don't. Or they colored the roof to make sure it looks like there weren't problems, or made the grass in the yard greener than it really was. That type of stuff. So it's understandable, small little modifications, but if you overly enhance them, that is a violation of digitally altering those pictures. Number 5, enter a status change on a listing by the end of the next business day of the change. So if it's canceled, pending, closed, change in price, contingent offer accepted, this must be done by the end of the next business day. Don't wait. Make the correction by the end of the next business day after a violation notice was emailed. So if you receive a violation that you've done something wrong, then you need to respond to that and make it corrected quickly. Because if not, they might kick out the listing and cancel it, take it out. So you're going to have some unhappy sellers. Number 7, do not share your MLS access. Only authorized agents, appraisers, and office staff may access the system. Do not share your access information under any circumstances with anyone, including colleagues, customers, non-member agents, assistants, friends, or family. Be on guard for moving companies and other third parties that may attempt to strike a deal with you to share your access. If you get something like that, contact the MLS office immediately. Number 8, entering a listing into the MLS only when you have a signed listing contract. We have some agents that have entered the information in there as it's a potential listing, a temporary listing, and that's okay. But if you accidentally click submit the listing and you don't have a signed listing agreement, that's a violation of the law. The Real Estate Commission will come after you on that particular thing. So do not advertise anything until you have it listed. Years ago, back in the good old days when we had dirt that was golden, we had to have a certain time frame to put in our ads into the MLS to make the book, or in time for the newspaper or the Journal of Homes or Home Seekers, that type of stuff. And many times an agent says, well, it's in the mail, it's coming back, so I'll go ahead and put it in for an ad. And if it didn't show up, they were in violation of the law. So don't advertise something unless you have it listed 100%. And I mean listed by all the parties. If there's 2 people that are supposed to sign it, get both parties' signatures ahead of time, because otherwise you've got a problem. You may not have actual permission to market that property. Unauthorized use of MLS data. In addition to data accuracy and timeliness, the MLS protects the data from unauthorized use. Examples of acceptable use: reports for prospective buyers, printing off CMAs and comparables prepared for a particular property and for a particular person. The use of compilations for demonstration of market share is authorized. marketing materials using any data you choose for listings in which you are the listing agent. The selling agent may also use the data for this purpose, but only after the sale has closed. And E, marketing materials with accurate statistics, drawn footnoted with MLS credit, dates used, and any other criteria for the statistics. So if you're going to do something, information taken from the Snake River Regional Multiple Listing Service on such and such a date, information compiled from this date to that date, or something like that, you must quote it. There was a company in Pocatello that didn't quote it, and all the other offices were mad. Didn't make them look good. Examples of unacceptable use. The use of compilations to compare the performance of individual agents in a presentation to potential seller because of how some teams and brokers report activity, statistics, or individuals may be inaccurate and misleading. You might say, Fred Flintstone, boy, he only sold 4 homes, and you say he has a huge team? No way, they're terrible. You can't do that. Providing a list of properties to non-MLS members, such as a list of properties with pending statuses provided to a friend or relative with a moving company to help them get new business. You can't do that. Sending unsolicited data about any properties not in sold status for which you are not the listing agent or on any property in sold status. Other rules to be aware of. Accessing a property only with proper authorization. Do not disseminate your property access information. Also, the use of the term MLS or multiple listing service is restricted in firm names, web addresses, and web domain names. So a couple things there to keep in mind. Continuing on, there is a list of things that you can be fined for. And this list is available from the MLS. So it's called the Mls Violation List. So there's 3 different spots. So the subscribers could be assessed this. There's number 1, 2, and 3, and those are the severity of the fines. Now, for this first one, I'm going to come down to the bottom of it. For a violation of Section 1, the first offense is a warning email that would be issued. A second offense, a $50 fine, is assessed. Third offense, a $100 fine. Fourth offense, $500 fine. And then the fifth offense, they're suspended. So what are some of those things that you do not want to be doing? First off, number 1, failure to enter the new listing by the end of the next business day. Failure to report the status change by the end of the next business day. Failure to report sold within 72 hours. Changing the font size in the MLS public remarks section, because you're supposed to leave it alone, no changing all the stuff. Inaccurate information on a listing. For example, incorrect property type. Say it's single family when it's actually condo townhouse. Incorrect square footage, lot size, type of garage, number of actual stalls, and other required fields. I'm not going to point any fingers, but there was a time when people were putting down, oh, this 3-car garage does have a 2-car and does have a 1-car garage, so it would pull up in searches. That's not accurately showing the property, so that ended up getting changed. Number 6, manipulating data to modify, mislead, or deceive. I just gave you an example of one thing that's done. 7, canceling and relisting as new within 31 days. The DOM, days on the market, will still continue. Number 8, changing or removing information upon a status change. For example, somebody has the property listed and then it goes to sold, so they take out the seller's contact information, or they change how much is being offered to the other party or something. Inaccurate depiction of the property in a photo. Failure to submit requested seller disclosure information, like the property disclosure or lead-based paint disclosure. That must be submitted so the other agent has access to it. Inappropriate or unprofessional use of remarks, disparaging things, saying things bad about somebody else. Failure to report cancellation of pending sale or other status changes. So if something falls apart, by the next day, you're supposed to have that modified in the MLS. Reporting inaccurate or removing the sales price. Oh, my people don't want it disclosed out there, so I'm going to remove the sales price. Well, sorry to say, and I mentioned this in one of our other building block classes, that if the people find it through the MLS, then we report the sale through the MLS. If you don't do so, you will lose your MLS privileges, and it would be terrible to have a large group or a team or somebody not have access to put their properties in there because somebody deleted the sales price or did not report it correctly. 14, canceling, withdrawing, expiring, or removing a pending listing prior to its expiration. Oh, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel it, just so it looks better. Failure to provide documentation for sold price variation. Or is that that's because it'll say that it's too much of a difference in price. So sometimes they'll want to have proof that it was actually sold for that dollar figure within 72 hours. An active listing without a valid listing agreement. That right there is against the law, but it's also a fine with the association MLS. Unauthorized expiration, extension, or renewal of a listing without written permission. You can't just go on there if an agent tells you to go ahead and renew the property. They say, yeah, I got it. Let's go ahead and renew it for 2 more weeks. Or, oh, I got another 6-month or a year extension. If you don't have it in writing submitted to you, don't change it. Now, it can be something simple like a email. Please, just as long as it's referencing and you can see the property. Please extend the listing on my property till October 31st, 2021. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 123 North Main Street. That would count. That's written. Alrighty, I was up here, active listing. Unauthorized expiration, extension, renewal of a listing. Failure to disclose dual or variable commission. Now, dual and variable. A dual commission is typically when if you sell it, you're going to reduce your side. So let's say that you charge 6%. But if you bring in the buyers, instead of charging 6%, it's going to be 5%. And you're only going to take 2%. Where if another agent from another office brings in an offer, it's going to be 3% to them, 3% to you, so 6%. That is a dual commission. Now, you need to mark yes or no on the MLS for that. And if you mark a yes on it, when the other agent calls, it's up to them, so we don't have to say, oh, it's a 1% difference or whatever, or I'm doing it for free or who knows what. But when the other agent calls and says, oh, I noticed that it says dual or variable. What's the difference there? What is it? Then we are required to disclose that difference. There's a 1% difference. Now, why are we required to disclose that? Because it could make a difference in the offer, because they're already at a disadvantage of 1% of the sales price or purchase price, that your offer is going to have a better offer versus the other agents. Now, a variable commission, and some people consider these both the same, but they're not. Technically, a variable commission is between, if you write up the offer for $300,000, I'm going to pay you 2%. But if you write up for $150,000, I'm going to pay you 3%. You know, it's variable based on the sales and a purchase price. Number 19, no picture within 2 business days except for business only and business only lease, then you're going to be charged. It's a penalty. Pictures containing contact marketing, wording, graphics, or realty signs. Contact or other marketing information, public remarks. Third-party marketing in any field except in private remarks. The use of other people's pictures, images, virtual tours, etc. without written permission. Misuse of public remarks. Misrepresenting the availability to show or inspect the property. Entering a manufactured home as single family and not as manufactured with land or manufactured without land. Entering a listing that is not an exclusive right to sell or exclusive agency listing. Let's talk about that. In Idaho, there are multiple listings. You can have an exclusive agency, an exclusive right to sell. You can have an open listing. You can have a net listing. There's a lot of different types of listings. However, the Idaho Association of Realtors only puts out one form, and it's the exclusive right to sell. So when it asks you what type of property it is or type of listing agreement, you typically will select ERS for exclusive right to sell. The other ones that are in there, exclusive right to sell with lease or exclusive agency, are some other ones. An exclusive agency means the seller can still market the property themselves, like a builder, and they have the for sale by owner sign in the yard, the builder sign. And then we have a real estate sign in the yard. And that would mean anybody dealing with real estate agents would have to use that broker or brokerage to present the offers and go through. So that's one thing. Now, an exclusive agency listing means if ABC Realty brings in the offer, then ABC Realty would be paid. So I can have an ABC Realty sign in the yard. I could have a Keller Williams sign. So if Keller Williams brings it in, they get paid. So I can have multiple signs on my yard, but whoever brings the listing or brings the buyers in only that person would be compensated. With our exclusive right to an open listing is something that anybody could bring something in. The seller can sell it themselves, etc. And then a net listing is when you sell it for a dollar figure. I want to net 100,000. So anything above that can be considered a commission. So if you get it written for 130,000, they wanted the 100, that 30,000 is your commission. The real estate commission doesn't like that because it's not presenting the best thing or working the best for that particular seller. But those are some of the options. So you need to enter it in right here. For sale signs. Only the for sale sign of the listing broker may be placed on the property. After it's closed, however, you could put up a sign on the property with permission from the buyer, the new owner, that says sold by or something along those lines. 29, solicitation of a listing filed with the service. So if you're soliciting something, saying, oh, I'd like to list your property, and it's already listed. We have people that are doing some ISAs and people that are calling and soliciting. If they get turned in for soliciting an active listing, no matter what, the first offense, right here, warning, then $50 fine, $100 fine, $500 fine, then suspension. They have been a little bit more lenient on things, but we talked about it in a meeting the other day that it's going to be a lot stronger, and you'll start seeing people getting fined. So please make sure ISAs and other people making calls are not violating that, because they can lose their license or their membership. It's not a real estate license, but they'll lose their membership in the association and will be fined. 30, co-listing agent is not a member of our MLS. You can't enter a co-listing agent that says it's Fred from this other company. It doesn't work that way. It can't be in our MLS for that. Owner's name not disclosed. We're required to have the owner's name in the property so that the people know, meaning the other agent, if it's distressed property, a bank, trust, whatever it is. 32, failure to disclose the source of information in public representations. For example, quote, information provided by the Snake River Regional Multiple Listing Service, end quote. We talked about that earlier. You have to give credit when you're quoting your stats and statistics. There's also failure to submit the terms of contingencies. Is it an exclusive right to, is it a home that has to be sold? Is it subject to completing an inspection? Those need to be correct. 71, failure to remove the lockbox and or sign within 72 hours of the property closing and recording. If you don't take your sign and lockbox off, that's a violation of the MLS rules. People have never turned somebody in yet, but now that they know the rules, maybe they will. And 72, failure to correct any violation. So they can be written up, you violate it, and then you fail to correct it within the 24 hours, like it says, then that's another offense. Moving on to some of the more serious stuff. So this is number 2, and there is a number 3. But number 2, a level 2 violation here says, a first offense is a warning email. Second offense is a $250 fine. The third offense is a $500 fine. Fourth offense is suspension. So let's take a look at these. This deals more with the unauthorized access and misuse of the MLS information. So if you distribute an MLS confidential information sheet, that would be the agent only printout, you would be in violation. Why is that bad? Well, it has the seller's names on the property, their phone numbers. In the private remarks, it might say, here's the code to the house to open it up. It might say, my kids are left at home during the day, blah, 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 or other stuff. You don't want to have that liability and responsibility. I've seen people that have their agent-only printouts that they take with them, and they left one in another house on accident. It's still a violation if somebody picks that up, so be very careful. Unauthorized use of MLS information. Showing or granting access to a coming soon listing. If it's coming soon, no one's supposed to be in it, but if you grant access, that's a violation. Failure to be present when providing access to a listed property to potential buyers, inspectors, or others. If you open up the door and leave it open for somebody, that's a violation. Unauthorized use of an MLS waiver for an agent or broker. You're saying, hey, I'm not going to access the MLS, so I want to file this form, and then you violate it, that's a violation. Then here it is for an assistant, same thing. Exporting MLS data for unauthorized use. You take it off and you're going to use it on your own website or something without permission, you cannot do that. Violating IDX or RETS rules. unauthorized removal of the keys from the property or lockbox. If you don't have permission, you take the key out of the lockbox on somebody else's listing, that is a violation. Not only for the MLS, but that's a violation of Idaho license law. Failure to account. The Real Estate Commission will fine you and it will stay on your record. I hope you all have clean records with the Real Estate Commission. Unauthorized access to a listed property. In Twin Falls area, there was the sexy realtor, as we call it, that utilized a vacant home for access for different things that are not permitted to be done in the property. And that is a violation of the MLS rules. This individual was caught when the homeowner came home because they had bought another house down the street and they noticed the lights were left on. So the bubbly and other stuff that this person had there at the home was not utilized by the intended parties. Okay, unauthorized access. Failure to follow showings or contact instructions. If it says to contact the listing agent and you don't follow that, that can be a violation. If it says do not call the tenants, then don't put the phone numbers in there, but whatever it is, make sure that you follow that correctly. Number 12, use of a lockbox on a non-MLS listed property, unless the paperwork received showing an office exclusive. Now, we're not supposed to use a lockbox on anything that's not listed. You can't put a lockbox on your rental property because it's more convenient for you to go to all of your rentals that you have and have a lockbox on it. That's not permitted. It must be available for all parties, MLS, and you can then use an MLS box on those. 13, unauthorized use of a supra key, providing access to any unlicensed individual, including but not limited to public, service providers, lenders, etc. The supra service will be terminated and the member will not be assigned any form of supra service again. So on that one, even though it says warning issued for first and a fine and suspension, it's a little more hectic here because they are saying that they will probably turn that off through supra. Number 14, sharing your username and or password, unauthorized use. That is a violation. So if you're a TC, if you're an assistant, you're supposed to get your own and have access to those other people's files. If not, you are in violation. And if somebody finds out, you'll get a warning email, then $250 fine, a $500 fine, and then you're not going to have a job anymore. So please make sure you're doing it right. 15, failure to submit the non-MLS listing certification form by the end of the next business day. That is a new form that's been talked about within the past probably 6 months. If it's going to be an office exclusive or a coming soon listing, they have a form that you can fill out that talks about that the seller understands it's not going to be on the MLS. And that way we have that form on file with the MLS. Then a violation of level 3. Now for violation of level 3, the first offense is a $5,000 fine. Second offense is a $15,000 fine. And Josie, did you ever get one of these fines? No. So good.
Never. I'm good. Can't you see my halo?
I see your halo. Okay, so for this particular one, it would be the lockbox key used by anyone other than the person to whom they are assigned. If an agent gives you their key and you are using it, you will be fined on the first offense, $5,000. Second offense, $15,000. And on the first one, it says suspension. So you're suspended for your rights to use that. And if it happens again, once you do get your rights back, you will be terminated. So if somebody says, I forgot my key, can I borrow yours? Sorry, you cannot do that. There is something you can do that's permitted, which is talking to the broker, and the broker can let you use his or her key with the understanding that they are aware of it and know what's happening. I used to have one of those D keys, those little tiny ones that were available that people could see, that little one. But then I had some agents that all the time didn't charge their phone or something else and had problems, so it became more of a headache for me. So I got rid of that and it's now on my phone, so I'm not going to lend my phone out. So it doesn't happen anymore that we have that happen. but please be aware of it. Going back to sharing the screen again. Each violation will remain on the record for each subscriber for a period of 12 months from the time of the most recent violation. Failure to pay any service charge or fee within 1 month of the due date, and provided that at least 10 days notice has been given, service to the MLS for the subscriber shall be suspended until all charges and/or fees are paid in full. Reminder, brokers are responsible for all agents, teams, and office administrators. Listing agents are responsible for unlicensed assistants or authorized team members who add or edit listings on their behalf. The maximum fine that may be assessed is $15,000. Probation can be given for 30 days up to 1 year. Suspension of MLS rights, privileges, and services can be for 30 days, but up to a year. Termination of the MLS rights, privileges, and services with no right to reapply is for up to 3 years. With 5 or more violations or alleged violations of Section 1 and/or 2, and/or a single violation, alleged violation of Section 3, the subscriber may be subject to a hearing before their respective association's Professional Standards Committee. If a subscriber's account is suspended, there is a $50 reactivation fee. So, is it showing my face again now? It's a nice face. Probably ought to shave though. So that's some additional information there for the fine violation list. Are there any questions about the violations? This would be a great time to say, what if this? You could even use hypotheticals to protect somebody that you know. If they're doing something that you think might not be correct, we can answer those. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this particular thing. If somebody asks you about the do's and don'ts, please refer them to this video so they can watch those. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Thank you.